Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and a bit of news coming out this lunchtime that the Baleba price has been set for Manchester United at £75 million. It's come out from the Mail, who are also saying that Liverpool want Wharton as well. Well, look, I said a couple of weeks ago that I'm 95% sure that Man United will sign Baleba. I'll tell you why I think that in a moment. But I've also been asked about my combined 11 for the Arsenal game, so I'm going to give you that in a minute. And I've also been asked, do I agree with, I think it's Beth, who's put Timber in a combined 11 between the current Arsenal side and the 08 side? And the answer's no, so I'll give you that as well. But topical. So this is what's come out. There is a feeling that Brighton will cash in on Baleba in June with a price tag of north of £60 million, likely to be close to £75 million. I think this is Nathan Salt in the Daily Mail. He also goes on to say that Adam Wharton is expected to be sold by Crystal Palace this summer amid major changes. Liverpool are set to prioritise him, meaning United won't have a free run, which fits in with what we were talking about this morning, that United keep leaking it out to credible journalists that they're after Anderson and Wharton. But Anderson will probably go to Man City. Wharton could go to Liverpool, and we've been leaked and spun for the whole season when we end up with the player that we went for last summer, which is why I'm 95% sure we will go with Baleba. Now, do you think £75 million is too much for Baleba? I do. I really do. Why am I so confident we're going to sign him? Well, there's a few things, really. There's common sense. There's also information. And Manchester United's consistent leaking to the press that regardless of Baleba's performances this season in the Premier League, which haven't been very good, they still believe there's a good player there. So United don't need to do that. And if you've been around the club long enough, which many of you have, and you understand the way information gets leaked out or stopped, they've never stopped anything about Baleba from last summer to today. It's a player of interest. We're not interested in his Premier League form. He's still a player we really want. Even with Amrim sacked, they still really want him, which shows this is not a managerial choice. This is a club choice. This is a Wilcox choice backed up by their board. So I think they're going to get Baleba. I think it's very, very obvious. Also, from the player side, it's well known that he wants to sign for Manchester United, and it's well known that Man United want him. It's almost well known that he will sign for Man United in the summer and Brighton will do a deal. The only thing that's not known is the price that Man United will have to do for this, and I think United themselves don't know that. So look, publicly you could figure this out on yourself, but behind the scenes, he definitely wants United and Man United definitely want him. And from everything I've heard from credible people, but also just observing it, that's why I'm saying I'm 95% sure he'll sign for Manchester United. What nobody can tell us is what the price is going to be. So beyond what we see publicly, behind the scenes, when you talk to people, Man United Baleba this summer is why I'm happy to say publicly 95% will sign him, which is a massive percentage. It just won't not happen, in my opinion, because it's very similar to Sancho. We tried to get him one summer. Dortmund outpriced us. We thought we could get him at a decent price. Dortmund said, you're playing with, United realised, and then had to go back the following year and give Dortmund what they wanted. I think this is going to happen again. Price-wise, I would suspect, and this has got nothing to do with Baleba or Manchester United, and just speaking to somebody who works in the industry and the agency side, I was told that Manchester United would probably end up paying 65 million happily, and then put the add-ons into that. So, look, we don't know. This article says that north of 60 million, closer to 75 million. United will probably, and this is just completely from somebody who works in agency and that side of it, United will probably say to Brighton, we don't want to go above 65 million, what we played for Mbeumo and Cunha, because that statement publicly isn't great. Cunha and Mbeumo were coming off very strong seasons at Brentford and Wolves, scoring a lot of goals, playing very, very well. You're asking us to go north of £65 million for a prospect who, unless he turns it around massively, is a prospect and a player that's very good, but hasn't had the season that Cunha and Mbeumo had, and they're attackers. So I think United will put a hard stop at about 65 million, but they will add in add-ons that take it to the probably 75, 80 that Brighton want. So that's my prediction on price. But I think this deal, I'm very sure this deal will happen. And the more that's happening around United, Baleba's almost like a get-out-of-jail card for Man United, because if they didn't have this player that wants to come to us that no one else really is going to pay for, then where would they go? Like if Baleba wasn't, I understand why United keep saying, well, we don't really care about his performances in the Premier League this year because we really think he's well scouted and he's a good player. I mean, how you can think that, that's a debate for another day, I suppose. But how a club can go, yeah, we don't really care that he's not playing well in the league. We don't really care that he's really not playing well because we think he's a good player. That's dangerous. It's dangerous. But I think for United, it's more about they believe he's a good player. They believe he can become a top player. They know nobody else is really after him. And they know that he really wants to come to United. And unfortunately, or fortunately, that's the way United operate now. With Mbeumo, you did have interest from other clubs, but he wanted United. With Cunha, you did have interest from other clubs, but he wanted United. And with Baleba, I don't know whether there is going to be interest from other clubs, but he wants United. And that's sort of how we do business now. We have to focus on players that are like that. And as I say, if Baleba wasn't there, you'd be trying to get Anderson. He doesn't want Man United, does he? He probably wants to assess all his options. Or Wharton. He doesn't desperately want United. He probably wants to assess all his options. So Baleba, I think, ends up being the, oh, look at this super signing we've bought in the midfield this summer. Because if you get Anderson as well, you can go, oh, look at what we've done. But if you can't get Anderson and you can't get Wharton, you've got to glow up the Baleba deal and go, this is the one we wanted. So I think it will happen, and I think it will happen for about £65 million plus add-ons. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. As I've said before, look, I think with any signing, you've got to welcome them and hope they're going to do well. There is a red flag about his alarming form in the Premier League this season and his probably immaturity to deal with the setback of not getting the move he wanted, but maybe he can mature and become the player he needs to be. And there is a red flag also, probably more importantly, on the fact that he's another learner driver. You know, he's another player that we're going to have to put up with if he succeeds. Good performances, bad performances, 60-minute performances. You know, he's not going to hit the ground running. Whereas I think Anderson does. Maybe Wharton to a certain extent does. But with Baleba, I feel like there's still maybe a year or two of development there before he's, you know, conducting himself the way Anderson is at the moment. But I think he will end up at United. I don't mind Baleba as long as there's another top midfielder coming in. My preference has always been Stiller and Anderson. So let me know your thoughts on that. As I said, look, a little bit of clarity on the 95% thing. It's from speaking to people over the last few months, but also I think, you know, it's very obvious that United need this Baleba deal if the other deals don't happen to go, this is the player that we always wanted. We tried to get him last summer. So, and also he's not going to be playing in the World Cup. Is £65 million a fair price? Well, again, it's a bit like Mbeumo. It's like, it's expensive, but it's not stupid expensive. And you know, if you factor the add-ons into it, if he becomes a good player, you probably end up playing what Brighton wanted anyway. But, I mean, look, what's the price of anything these days? I mean, I suppose the big thing will be how much does Adam Wharton go for? The big thing I'm interested in, and maybe it's more of a that's football, general football thing, is if Baleba goes for 65, what's Anderson going for? What's Wharton going for? If they both go for over 65, then you'd probably go, it's not horrific. If Adam Wharton goes for like 80 and Anderson goes for, you know, 90, although I'm not dreaming here, am I? I know Ben Jacobs has gone quiet on it, but he did say considerably less than 80, didn't he? I think Wharton, I think Elliot Anderson might have something in his contract. I don't know, I'm speculating, but I just remember that from Ben Jacobs. So if Elliot Anderson goes to Man City for 65 million and we pay the same for Baleba, that's going to look silly, isn't it? It's a bit like they said this morning about Semenyo, who is better than Diamonde and is Premier League proven and ready to go. Him going for 60 million and then you give Leipzig 80, 90 for Diamonde, who's inexperienced. That's when it becomes a bit of a problem, I suppose. Okay. My combined 11 for Arsenal. I've been asked about this a lot. I've seen a lot of people doing them. So my combined honest 11 for Arsenal and Man United is based on the fact that this Arsenal side is very, very good. They're top of the Champions League, they're top of the Premier League, and they've been in the top 2 in the Premier League for the last 2 years. Man United, I don't even know how many times we've been in the top 4 in the last 13 years. So, I mean, there's a quiz question for you. Raya in goal. I like Le Mans, but Raya's better. Timber at right back, definitely. Calafiore at left back, definitely. Dorgu's is a good prospect. Luke Shaw was a very good left back, but Calafiore is better. Centre backs, well, it has to be Gabriel and Saliba. They're the best two centre backs in the Premier League, proven over the last 3 years. Into the midfield, it's got to be Declan Rice. I think Zubimendi has low-key been one of the signings of the season. I don't think he gets anywhere near enough credit as a new signing. I mean, people talk about all sorts of signings being signing of the summer, but like Zubimendi came in last summer and he's ridiculously good. Like, he's ridiculously, I do my job most weeks. So Zubimendi and Rice, that means we've got an entirety of an Arsenal back five and two of their midfielders. Saka off the right, 100%. I don't think we've got anybody who can lay a glove on Saka. We've got some good people who can play there, Ahmad and Mbeumo, but it would have to be Saka. Number 10, I'm going Bruno. I love Odegaard. I love Odegaard. For a long time, I wanted a disciplined number 10 who's magnetic, gets the ball, plays the simple pass, and I do really rate Odegaard. And at times I've said, Odegaard, we need Bruno to be a little bit more Odegaard with the way that he's just magnetic. Having said that, Bruno, the numbers, I love Bruno in the number 10. I know it's been an up and down relationship, but I do love Bruno in the number 10, so it's got to be Bruno for me. First United player in. Off the left, I'm probably a little bit out there. I know people have put Ahmad out there. He doesn't play off the left, so you're moving a player to do that. You could put Mbeumo there to do that if you want to. Or you could say, well, Arsenal could do that and put Madueke out there or Eze out there, couldn't they? So I don't think there's a standout left side. I'd go with Cunha, which is funny because I wouldn't play Cunha against Arsenal tomorrow. I played Dorgu on what we're trying to do on the break. But I've got to find a place for Cunha, so I would put Cunha off the left. And then up front, I've seen a few people putting Mbeumo there. I get that. I understand that. However, is that just ducking the issue of Gyökeres or Sesko or Havertz or Jesus? So you could put Mbeumo there. I'm going to go a little bit left field. I'm going to put Gyökeres there. I like Gyökeres. I've always liked Gyökeres. I feel that Arsenal are still getting used to him, but he does do a lot of the hard work, a lot of the physicality that creates spaces for other people. He does need to score more goals. You could go with Sesko because Sesko is looking decent over the last few weeks and is getting better and better. You could go for something that's a bit consistent like Jesus. You could put Mbeumo up there. But look, I'm going to go for striker and I'm going for Gyökeres. I said Gyökeres golden boot, which is one of the worst takes this season, which is balanced by the fact that I said Arsenal would win the league when no one else was. But the point is, I would go with Gyökeres, which means there are two Man United players in a combined 11 for me, which is Bruno and Cunha, which I'm comfortable with. Like we're nowhere near Arsenal. That's not our fault as fans. You shouldn't have a guilt trip. It's not Carrick's fault. It's not Amram's fault. It's not the players' fault. This is the board. This is the club that's been built by these morons, Arsenal are a better run club with better players. They've got a tremendous squad. As for this ridiculous stuff I've seen going around, how many of the current Arsenal team would get into the Man United 08 team? Man United 08 team should have won the Champions League. Dodgy referee against Portsmouth got us knocked out and Portsmouth won the FA Cup. That should have been another treble. I don't think any current Arsenal players get in the 08 side. I don't. I really don't. That Man United side won the Premier League and the Champions League. This Arsenal side's not won anything yet. So I wouldn't even contemplate this until the end of the season. If this Arsenal side can do what I think it can do and win at least one major trophy, then we can have the conversation in the summer. But right here, right now, you've got winners and wannabes. As for Timber over Wes Brown, I think this is what happens when chuff monsters get involved in conversations. 2008 was 18 years ago. 18 years ago. So if you're 26 now, you were 8. I don't think 8-year-olds can really assess Wes Brown against Timber. So I think most people in their 20s are going to be assessing Wes Brown as a kid. As somebody who in 2008 wasn't a kid, I can tell you now, Wes Brown was a fantastic player for Manchester United and played in a team that won the Premier League and the Champions League. And whilst he may well have been not first choice, he was pretty much first choice right back at that time because Gary Neville was always injured. So Wes Brown was a very, very good player in that position. And correct me if I'm not, did he not get the assist for the final for Ronaldo, Champions League final? Or was it Hargreaves at right back for the final? I always forget. But the reality is, I wouldn't take any Arsenal player in a Man United 08 team at the moment. I wouldn't. Prove yourselves first. I think Arsenal fans would agree with that. You know, you can't speculate on who gets in. Go and win things, and then we'll revisit it. But right here, right now, on a combined 11, they'll obliterate us, in my opinion. Doesn't mean they'll obliterate us tomorrow, though. I'm still confident. Right, get your comments in. Lots to get your thoughts in on. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'm back with you live at 8. If you want to join me on That's Football, I'm live at 5:15 for Bournemouth beating Liverpool. Fingers crossed. West Ham have done a favour, haven't they, against Sunderland? They're battering them. Maybe Wolves can do it against City. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Thank you very much for watching and get your comments in.